So um, yeah, they do throw in like a mean a main hitbox over here. I think first and foremost is cause like the core objective, it comes down to like maybe say like the rulebook, like one of the specifics was like um, talking a lot to do with um, yeah, like they want like I want the lowest length for among those folks. So this is like the main item that they are very much looking out for. So that's why you pull out like this mini box over here, and what you're gonna get is that the first item is very much to do with um, the length of the item, right? So I mean for the second item, it's very much talking about um, the endpoint, the end coordinate, because they talk about like at certain points that operation E, where there's like a tiebreaker between say um, there's like a tiebreaker situation between two lengths which are the same. Then what they're gonna do is like they're gonna choose like the later endpoint one, and what this does like the 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 purpose of this is to actually so that you can actually capture more points, capture the later points, and this also just means that you are going to be able to capture more points. Because like if you were to see that like you compare this item and this item, obviously this item gonna be able to capture more items in the later series. So that's the main purpose behind it. Like the further this guys is gonna like be able to capture like this wider range. If we were to talk about like endpoint specific, right? So that was like the argument. So I mean we can jump in um, to talk about this. So one thing is for sure is that they did draw out the items, so they are presenting in visuals, and obviously you also can present it in terms of like math. But for this question specific, we're very much gonna talk about visual. So they drew out everything. So I mean, first thing first is that they draw out the timeline, and then the next thing is they mark out the time. You have a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So if you were to go by like intuition sense, is that you're going to check out this guy. So they have like a certain formula for this rulebook. Specific is that their formula is very much to do with um, your n um, minus the start plus 1. So that's the formula pretty much. So if you were to do that for the first guy over here, 4 minus 1 plus 1, I mean you get a 4. So that's pretty much the length for the first item. And the second coordinate, like the second item that you got to have is like, what is the endpoint? Endpoint is like 4, so now you get a 4 4. And the next thing that you gotta really ask is this, is that operation G is very much so about talking about like, is there any form of like interaction between say the so-called like queries with my like say my intervals, right? So is there any form of like interaction between these two? So and like visually you can actually see, is there any interaction? And obviously these guys are 4 inside, so the first guy obviously has interaction, so that's why you insert that in. And so I don't know why, but I think what they did over here was that they very much focus on like the interaction the overlapping of like these items over here. So I think that's what they did. And so actually they didn't really care about like the interaction between these items. It's always like the interaction between this and this. I mean I just gonna draw up this guy out. I mean, so yeah, I just gonna draw this guy out. So 4 minus 2 plus 1 based on the operation. Based on this operation, I get a 3, and the endpoint is obviously 4. Cool. And then I think if I were to put it this way is that operation n is like asking say maybe this guy is like S1 and this guy is E1. And this guy is like Q1. So fundamentally what is it asking is that is my Q1 falling under the range of maybe say S1 to E1. If it's true, it just means that we can actually do some form of like judging towards it, I'll say. So if you were to see this guy and this guy is falling under the judge, so which is this guy and this guy, so that will be actually sent to the box, and they are sent to this box over here. So the first criteria that they want to really ask is that operation K, where I want like basically the lowest rank guy, and obviously this 3 guy is lowest rank, so I record it into 3. I don't necessarily pop it yet, so in the future I'm gonna do that. So and then obviously we go on to the Q2 guy to find its judges, if I would call it that way. So 6 minus 3, 3. So it's technically kind of like 4, and the endpoint is like 6. Yeah. So that falls under the category of like say n, where it's within the range. So right now we have these 3 guys that's maybe inside within the range, and we're gonna kind of like judge it. And of these 3, they're gonna choose the shortest length. Obviously they're gonna choose 3 again, send to the box. And now cool. And now there's like one more point over here if you can't really see it. So now we are obviously at the Q3 point of view, and we want to ask whether the stuff that is on range. Obviously this new guy length is 1, and its endpoint I think is 4. So it's gonna ask all the question like which guy is the shortest, like 1 obviously it is, so gonna insert the 1. And then last but not least is this Q4 thing. So which one is like within range. And the thing is this, that I believe it's gonna ask like the questions within here. Okay, who's the shortest length? 1. Okay, then the second question is gonna ask this. In order how to actually decide whether is it in range, is that operation M is gonna ask like say it say like the this one, which is like the E1, is the E1 I think what it asks is that is E1 less than the Q. If so, we need to remove it. But if say the E1 is more than the Q, that means it's under the valid. That's their logic. Okay, that's the logic for now. So obviously this guy got to be pop, and next lowest guys is 3 4, so it's 4. So I'm gonna ask like is 4 less than Q? If 4 is less than Q, which is a 5, it is, cancel out. Find the lowest length, and the thing is this, they find the between like operation K is very much to do with find the lowest length guy, right? And then operation L is saying that okay, there's a tiebreaker situation, so tiebreaker situation, I choose the later length guy. So in fact this guy is gonna be out, and then I choose the 4 6 guy, and then I put in the value over here. Yeah. So in fact like each operation like when we talk about like lowest length, it's like basically saying that like this guy is actually very much rulebook specific, right? And for this guy, their rule book is like saying that okay, I want the lowest length guy, okay. And also like the rule book is also saying that okay, I want to use this formula where I minus s plus 1, that will be my length, and so that's why we got all this. And we have like the min heap, like the min heap, the objective is this, that what it does is that I will be able to help you find the minimum left side value. Like and we are doing this like very efficiently. And what we need this is cause like our rulebook is like saying that okay, we need this low length guy, right? So ultimately it's because like the rulebook asks us for the low length guy. That's why we need to pull out this min heap guy. I think that why it needs to actually capture most points is that they sort of like want to be as greedy as possible, whereby it's like a valid point, and not only is it valid, it can also capture more future points. So that's what it's like doing. One thing that I feel like this formula it's like lacking was to do with like maybe say what if like say my S1 is more than your Q, right? Then no matter what, I cannot conduct anything, right? So it's like my S1 is like more than my Q. There's nothing for me to do unless there's like an extra operation that says that I actually don't know, like I just feel like there must be some form of like extra operation at the start that defines like the starting point, or what is like that make sure that like the S1 is more than is less than the Q. Like operation P is very much talking about say that making sure that my S1 is less than the Q, and then the E1 is also like more than the Q, so that it makes sure that like this item is like falling under the range of like say the points over here. I'm not too sure like what operation are they doing to actually make sure that the queries falls under within like the intervals. That's the part that I'm not sure of. And what is like the order of, like, say, the intervals that is like actually running. And so do I check this first and then check this and then check this? They could like do Operation W where they rank them by say the starting points. So they start running, maybe arbitrarily they have like some form of like box, say, oh, I'm gonna rank you by the S1 and I'm gonna start running you first. So first we have this one guy, and then obviously this 2 guy, this 3 guy, and then finally the 4 guy. And then I start running those folks, and obviously start adding them in, and then start asking the question that say that Operation M is like, is the E1 less than the Q? So E1 is obviously less than the Q. And how does it know that when does it actually stop before it start doing the judging thing? You need to wait until like I think I recall what they did over there. If it's like they ask like the condition of like if it's more than or equals to Q, so if S1 is like within more than or equals to Q, then I add the item into the list. So if it's like Operation Z, like S1 more than equal to Q, then I add to the min heap box. So this guy fulfill, this guy fulfill, and the next guy it doesn't fulfill. So and then I gonna start doing the judging, since the next guy doesn't fulfill. And with that I actually solve this guy over here. I can just straight up ask Operation M, and Operation M will actually make sure that okay, this guy is like okay, say that it's within, say, the range. Okay, we kind of solved that. But I feel like I will do the sorting to actually sort out the starting points so that I start inserting them in order, and then they will Operation Z, of course. And I feel like I don't need to do Operation M anymore. It's because is that if as long as like this statement is true, I will be able to have some form of interaction between the query and the lines, the intervals. So with that, everything comes to an end.